All right, everybody, we're going to start with some poetry on the side of the bar. My name's A.S. Coomer. I'm a writer and musician. I host this reading on the first Sunday of the month from 4 to 6 p.m. We have a sign-up sheet right here. If you want to share a poem, please come sign your name. If you do, to entice you, there is some delicious pecan pie right next to the sign-up sheet. Just saying. But we got two out-of-town features. We're lucky to have Tony Brewer and Joan Hawkins with us. They came all the way from Bloomington. Tony's going to start. I'm going to read you Tony's bio. Tony Brewer is a poet and audio artist from Bloomington, where he is executive director of the spoken word stage at the 4th Street Festival of the Arts and Crafts, and co-producer of the Writers Guild Spoken Word Series and the Urban Deer Performance Series. He has published 12 books and chapbooks, several of which right here, including most recently Centaur with Jonathan S. Baker, who's another amazing poet from Indiana, and Good Job Lightning, which is that one right there. So everybody put your hands together. Tony Brewer is going to share some poems with us.
Thank you, Drew. How is everybody? Welcome December. Yeah. Everybody full of turkey? You all tryptophaned out? Yeah. We had a football game in Bloomington last night. I don't know if you saw it. It was like this bucket that's involved. The old Oaken bucket game. I don't know if you followed. We usually in Bloomington we stop talking about football in like late September or October, but for some reason we've got a team this year. I don't know what happened. I think they've lost one game all year. They beat Purdue 66-0 last night. Apparently it was quite a blowout. I do not follow such things, but I did have breakfast with my sister and brother-in-law on their way out of town. We had mimosas, which was fantastic. So here I am. Here's something, I want to read the first poem, big kickoff poem in Good Job Lightning, my new collection out on Stubborn Mule Press. So here we go. This is called Everything Must Go. I went to the store the other day to replace my arm. It had been hurting for a few months, and I saw an ad in a magazine about the new models that can crush cans and slice tomatoes and julienne fries like a Cuisinart, and then retract and fold and hold a child's delicate hand moments later. I might like one of those. And the one I had hurt. But the arm store was out of stock. All I had were attachments like aerodynamic elbow fins and spindly fingers I know I'd snap off in a door slam. All the salespeople had arms, of course, but they were no help. I checked next door at the leg store, and those stilted cocksure merchants laughed and said, "What, you want to look like a freak?" They only care about speed and shapely calves anyway, and I already got all that covered. So I'm walking home, dejected, unconsciously flexing when I hear, "Psst, hey buddy, come here." And there, in the shadow of an alley, stood an arms dealer. And he was a good one. He said, "I understand your predicament. You got money and demand, they got no supply. It's a rough time now, sour market, bad economy, caveat emptor." The pit of his arm was whispering all this in my ear. He had a nice custom bicep, all tricked out. I'll be honest, I didn't know arms could do that, and I had done a lot of research. I allowed him to take me aside. We stood next to a dumpster and a dripping water pipe, and he continued to pitch me appendages, lefts and rights, though they all looked the same, lying there, inert in his display case. This one is for gardening and it has a power scoop. This one can microwave, it's really, really small. Finally, we got to a few that interested me. One that could play charades with the other arm, and one that sprouted skin tags and moles and long rogue hairs. Very realistic. Very realistic. I like that. Arms with switchblade fingers and blunderbuss wrists and extra elbows or quills for hair. I don't know. I really just wanted one that could hug as well as connect my wrist to my shoulder and hold and touch and lift and work my fingers. You know, the usual, but without the pain. I said, I can do all that now, but it hurts, so I need a new, painless arm. And the dealer says, so a replacement, not an upgrade? Nobody does that anymore, I guess. Use an arm till it wears out and then get another one just like it. The guys at the arms store were shocked too, as if I were trying to destroy their way of life. I said, yeah, just an arm, please, just like this one, like mine. I don't want to kill anybody, and I'm not into gardening. The dealer said, you're one of those masturbators then? I could not deny that, but before he could pull some perverted arm out of that infinite case of his, I stopped him and I said, I don't think you understand. My arm hurts, but it's mine. And he said, to some people, that's the only way you can tell you're alive, pain and possession. I said, you can't really show off an arm by itself, though, because it's attached to everything else. And he said, yeah, but these new models nowadays, if you practice, you can detach them very quickly. We went back and forth like this for a while in an alley next to a dumpster. The pipe was still there, but had stopped dripping. Him trying to sell me arms I didn't need, me explaining why I wanted a new, old arm. You don't repair arms, do you? I finally asked, and he laughed and said, nobody fixes arms anymore. Profit margin's too low, cheaper to junk it and buy a new one. So I thanked him and shook his hand. It was a really nice one, but awfully flashy, and I think that's exactly why he had it. Then I got out of there fast. My arm still hurt, but it was mine. Everything stops hurting eventually, one way or another. I jammed my hand so deep it ripped a hole in my pocket, and everything I had in there spilled down my one good leg and out onto the street. Thank you. So here's a seasonal poem I've been reading a lot lately. Well, I've been reading a lot this holiday season. Log in. The hell does log in? Ah, bastard. Where are you? Here you go. That's where you are. Let me just like 2 sheets here. This is called You'll Be Sorry. Yule, like Y-U-L-E. Like I said, it's seasonal. So you'll be sorry. There are times I wish I could be Christian for my family. It might simplify things, knowing for sure we're all going to the same place or places, owning all the same curse words. They ask advice one by one on how to deal with the crazy one, which is everyone else but me, because I am the one on the other end of the phone right now. I was never baptized, but I did 8 years of therapy, and that gives me an advantage in these dark times when prayer won't let them not let their buttons be pushed. I tell them that little voice inside whispering negative things and the sibling who shouts them. You can't believe that nonsense. Sometimes you have to harden your heart. Boundaries are for your safety. It's okay to say no to family. On and on, my sermon drones. In brighter times, my therapist is an enemy to them, to be vanquished, preventing me from being together with all the other inmates in the rec room. At some point, somebody is crying, and I just let it happen without comment, like Tim used to do to me. On a couch in a calm, medicated office, I walked out of there every Wednesday feeling refreshed and reborn. Any words of comfort sounding like the closing of a door and another opening. When I hang up, I don't carve another notch in my pentagram. It's not fair they have to hit up a dirty old heathen like me when God is not love and Jesus is not the way. We are grim with this knowledge, sad, hopeless, and related. I have less and less desire to say, I told you so, but it never goes away like my faith. I hold my tongue, thrilled to at last not be the one who ruins Christmas. Yeah, do this one. Where is my time? Here we go. So this is from a wee little chapbook that I put out through the Grindstone. My good friends down there in Evansville, they do the Grindstone. Actually, I think they may have stopped doing the Grindstone, unfortunately. So this is kind of an icon of days gone by. But this is, we in the poetry biz, we suffered some losses this year. There was a lot of folks that went away forever in some of our smaller circles and some of our larger circles. And so I wrote this for a gentleman there in Evansville named Bill Southern, who died. I think it's been a couple of years now. And there's been at least a couple more in my circle that died this year. So this is called Candy Mountain for Poets. Candy Mountain for Poets. The ditchweed is super kind. Cops are all well read. City fountains spew Cabernet. You still wind up dead. Smoke breaks count as meditation. Well dressed is a state of mind. Chapbooks are legal tender. You still wind up dead. No monuments or class fees. The weather is always beautiful or beautifully glum. You still wind up dead. Readers know your best work. Readings are celebrations. Every road an invitation. You still wind up dead. Glaciers are still frozen. The sky is not full of lead. Everyone gets somewhere to be. You still wind up dead. There's always a party cooking in a church where no one prays. Every poem breaks God's heart. You still wind up dead. The infinite becomes graspable. I am every grain of sand. All hair comes with flowers. Being alive is work. The whiskey flows like water from rock deep in earth. Printing's free, pens never dry. Outside doesn't touch too hard anymore. And you still wind up dead. We're just kind of whipping through them, aren't we? That's fine. If I can get to it. I didn't bring the hard copy, but I seem to have locked out of my storage unit here. There we go. Forgive me. I've suddenly become one of those poets. No, there we go. It's right there. It's right where I always keep it. This got published in, it's over here. Actually, I could have picked up the hard copy over there. This is in Keeping the Flame Alive, Volume 5, I think. Yeah, it's the Halloween issue. This is called Candy Thieves. Candy Thieves. Candy thieves emptied my porch cauldron October 31st, 2020. Hadn't left my house in 2 days except to buy bags of bullshit Hershey's, the ethically and gastronomically worst chocolate outside of an Aztec death ritual. We were still being carefully distant then. I peeked through blinds at empty streets. I live over the hill from higher property values, and trick-or-treaters are exceptions. I welcome them in costume, a moment to relive childhood through my adult eyes. But that first year of COVID, I was just another home to hit, another sucker hidden away with all my goodies on display. Some naive souls suggested I'd had a lot of children visit that night, but I know what happens. Some are told to take all they can, push their way to the front, elbow others out of the way. And I hate Halloween like I hate bullies and greedy kids and adults, and I am not a ghost and cannot haunt. This is why some grown-ups turn off their lights and don't give out candy or put out a cauldron once and call it good. This, my porch, first year of the pandemic, is where my happy childhood dies, okay? Okay. The thin veil is thick like my skin now. It's November, Day of the Dead. I'm remembering all of you. Carol, who took herself out of the equation of capitalism. John, who took himself out and will never know why. Fred, who was in remission and it didn't matter. Jason, who never got better at all. You absent spirits, little treats stolen away by masquerading demons. It's all metaphors, the whole scary, sexy season. And here I've lost a little death chocolate. Candles snuffed themselves out in my jack-o'-lantern after blackening the lid of themselves that shrank and fell in like a memory where people once were. When you don't know where the next disaster will come, when you don't know when the next disaster will come, why be polite and take just one? Take it all, as much as you can carry. Maybe mean people live in the next house, lights off, curtains drawn, peeking out of the darkness, wanting you to come knock, though they are terrified they don't have enough left to give. Hydration's important.
Especially when it's peanut butter.
That's right, yeah. That is some thick hydration. I like it. Yeah, the peanut butter style, or peanut butter porter on the fan. Somewhere to read. Yeah, I'm gonna read this one. I'm gonna read the title poem from. This came out in 2022. With my good friends at Gasconade Press over there in Missouri. This is called Pity for Sale. Like the book, it's also called Pity for Sale, which is for sale. My pity, it's right over there. On a pew full of pity. So I wrote this before Ferlinghetti died. I think I wrote this on the occasion of his 101st birthday. Which was probably in 21. Is it 2021? Yeah. So that's why, and it was kind of modeled after his poem "Pity the Nation," and which has a little epigram called "After Gibran," Khalil Gibran. And so this is "Pity for Sale" after Ferlinghetti, after Gibran. Pity for sale. Pity the bee who has no country, its fuzzy, swollen appetite and hardwired love of candy. Pity the window, gladly accepting so many waves of heat and hand, fogged with condensation of desire. Pity the vegetable and its untouchable packet, disguised as itty-bitty seeds that are mere possibilities. Pity the failed backup and make it new. Pity the ambulance, so lonely it stalks my next-door neighbor twice this year alone. Alone. Pity the billionaires in love with zeros. No, fuck those clowns, right in the zero. Pity the worker who identifies with a king. Pity the tree dragged down by sweet honeysuckle, the red buds pinking the woods, telling us it is time. Time. Pity the time it takes to feel, the time it takes to unfeel, to unlearn, to unlove, to unseal. Pity our ranks and forms, a slot for everyone when we all would be better off marked other. My country, 'tis not insane, but copes horrendously. Sweet land, sweet liberty, ask any busy bee. Let's see, I'm going to read another one from here. We'll do this one. This is a good bar poem. It's a brewery. It's not really a bar. I know, the same way. So this is called, I used to play Irish music at sessions around Indiana pretty regularly. And this is about that experience. It's called At the End of the Session. At the end of the session. 2 hours ago, the music had a 2 hours ago, the music had a sweet melancholy and a melancholy sweetness. Fast or slow, it pained and soothed. The notes and the memories they evoked, and the muscles paying for playing them. Like rubbing a bump on the head, so hard it feels good, or scratching poison ivy, or drinking past the point of social lubrication and onward. as dim sunlight moves the shadow of a great henge till the beer breaks on the granite of the gut and soaks into the stomach's bog. For the skin is the earth, just as the voice is the warbling heaven of an E string, stabbed with a finger, twisting in the wound of notes near the heart. A non-traditional technique, but just then, the tune's winding down, all the cheer gone out of the table, no more money for pints, no more money left for pints. There was a rightness musicianship does not require. Even happy dogs sighing seem sad, content at master's feet, worn out and gray around the muzzle, but not yet too old to get up and play. What am I doing here? Yeah, okay. I think I'll do like 3 more. Okay, I'm going to try this one. I don't do this one too often. It's a little experimental. But I feel like we've built a rapport. So, yeah, kind of see where I'm coming from. Let me show you just how experimental this one gets. Oh, shit. Oh, damn. So this is called the Edgewise Word. And technically I'm going to read it twice. And you may or may not pick up on that. You probably will. You're a very intellectual crowd, I can tell. This is called the Edgewise Word. Impossible for anyone living or dead to jumpstart a body lost in my own house. My finished sentence knew the limits of my words, and which are false. Toxic comfort, dangerous by you, keeper. No such thing. I hear you. To know anything, it does not matter. Brains, chunky soup, buried under tchotchkes, where I was going, went. Love at the threshold of feelings, alarms, first responses, flow of answers, neuroses, of all safety, wisdom as unity. I understand. Without you, knowledge exists, unspoonable. Awards for existing, better, which are real, codified, to questions unasked, unspoken. Only tried. I do not believe you. Impossible for anyone to know anything without you, living or dead. It does not matter. Knowledge exists to jumpstart a body. Brains, chunky soup, unspoonable. Lost in my own house, buried under tchotchkes, awards for existing. My finished sentence, where I was going, went, knew, love, better, the limits of my words at the threshold of feelings, which are real and which are false, alarms, first responses codified, toxic comfort, dangerous flow of answers, neuroses to questions unasked by you, keeper of all safety, wisdom, unspoken. No such thing as unity, only tribe. I hear you, I understand, I do not believe you. Yeah, we'll end with this one. This will be a great closer. So this is about a trip I took to Maine. It's been a long time now. It's been like 15 years. I should get back there. So I got a good friend out there that lives on an island off the coast of Maine, off the southeastern coast of Maine, a place called Deer Isle. I went there in 2009 and wrote this. This has kind of encompassed the whole trip. Excuse me. And the title is what they call that particular area of Maine, down east. It's called Down East. And so, yeah, like the southeastern coast of Maine, they call it Down East. So there's a couple of other vocabulary words that you'll pick up. I'll kind of define them in here too, but my apologies to anyone from Massachusetts. It's just what they call them. So this is Down East. Thank you all for listening. Thank you all for being here on this gray first day of December. It's a really pretty drive coming down here, I gotta say. I really like this kind of weather. I love the kind of iron sky look. It's a good look, sky. Good job. Down East. Somewhere around here, Paul Stuckey started a radio station that has played Puff the Magic Dragon 24/7 since 1968, except for break-ins from Democracy Now! And the Hightower Report. People from Boston are called massholes. Limp shedders in a convenience store tank too long are yesterday's pound. Ask a local, lived here all your life? And he'll answer, not yet. Such happy yellow rubber trousers with booties attached and suspenders extending out of a hang-down mustache as dark and downturned as the mouth underneath. He's a watercolor of a wharf, stacking cages and banding claws and thinking of his manicured ex-wife's painted nails and mouth, how she hated his Irish music, and boy, that was a deal breaker. He could have just not let her get that close instead of running all the way to Maine to escape after the divorce. But the sun isn't hiding when it doesn't show its face. A milky pearl in clam-colored skies. Here comes a squall. Stop. That's how the weather works here. A rock-bound smugness saying, you just don't know the world like we do. Thumbs under suspenders like tongues on long vowels dying at the back of the throat. A fish slides easily through the hand until the fins prick like quills when you try to hold it fast and scale and clean and gut it. He prefers claws and armor boiling in a pot and putting up a good fight with a hammer and tongs and a long buttery fork. Imagine trying to live here without synthetics, all oilskin and sealskin and real skin against wet wool dried over a smoky fire. And then another time, blubber. Fat people rich, now fat people poor. The boat is not his life. It's got a name, like a wife. And he loves every catch he dumps on her deck, writhing like a sequin dress she's not clean enough to wear. So it just lays there, all pretty on the bed. A radio's the only thing still running when a nor'easter knocks the power out. He cranks it like a phonograph, and out comes Elvis Costello, pretending he's Pete Seeger, doing a terrible Burl Ives. That tremolo wheezing forth, he'd almost rather hear the news. And off the coast, a foghorn, sounding all night, all year, though no one lives there, ever since the keeper passed away. Remote controlled since 1958. He can tune a violin by it. G sharp. And the waves lapping the granite beach clean. Our whole rests. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Tony Brewer, everybody. Put your hands together one more time. Yeah. Next up, we got Joan Hawkins. Joan Hawkins is the author of Cutting Edge, Art, Horror, and Horrific Avant-Garde, and co-editor of William S. Burroughs' Cutting Up the Century. Her creative work includes School and Suicide, The Burroughs Hour, and a spoken word CD with Kyle Quass. Pragis? Pragis. I suck at pronouncing stuff. She appears in the New Generation Beats 2024 anthology, even though she considers herself an old beat. Everybody put your hands together, Joan Hawkins.
Check, check. Check, check. So while I get set up, thank you everybody for coming out, and thank you very much to A.S. Kummer and to the series for inviting us. And as Tony said, it was a gorgeous drive. So I'm going to read a few pieces from the Burroughs Hour that was put out by Grindstone Press. And this first one, Coltrane Changes, is the poem that was published in New Generation Beats 2024. Coltrane Changes. Every My Life era has its own jazz man. First it was Miles, with his cool jazz and hard bop sounds. Bitches Brew, its trippy album cover and acid staple in every hip 1970 living room. Miles was my main jazz man for years, decades even, working and steaming through shit jobs and long commutes, child rearing, grad school. Then came late marriage, kind of blue afternoons, making love by the fire, ghost traces of dark soot left on my body by Skip's smoky hands, sketches of Spain. Then, well, shit happens. And when it happened big time to me, that's when I started seriously listening to Coltrane. Now, Train's a demanding cat, even more than Miles. I listened to Train's blues and Blue Train over and over while writing long blog posts, fashioning Skip's cancer into something knowable, tellable, comforting family and friends with stories as though we were all young again. Good news or bad, blue is my color, and I played Train's two blue albums until I knew every minor fall and major lift by heart. Then a friend sent a 4 a.m. YouTube link for Naima, Train and performance playing the piece. And well, I didn't exactly break up with Miles, just moved him a bit further down the playlist. It's complicated. Because you see, Train's a shape-shifting jazz man. Just the cat for non-resolved and evolving situations, complex chord cycles, sharp substitutions, changes so uniquely his they still bear his name. Coltrane Changes, we call them. Coltrane Changes. Coltrane Changes seem to be my roadmap now, and who knows where Train, still my main jazz man, will lead. There's a St. John Coltrane Church in San Francisco, African Orthodox, they style it. I don't know much about Africa, but in every My Life era, my friends, jazz has been prophetic. Jazz has been divine. And San Francisco is my hometown. So maybe Train will take me home. Maybe he'll lead me to another jazz man, another My Life era. Or maybe he will take me back to my own dark God. So this next one is more of a prose poem. It's Leonard Cohen and Edie Sedgwick at the Chelsea Hotel. There's a legend about Leonard Cohen and Edie Sedgwick, and it goes something like this. Edie, Andy Warhol's fastest rising superstar, was giving one of her famous parties at the Chelsea Hotel. Everyone who lived there was invited, but nobody expected that Leonard Cohen, the dapper dandy of late beatdom, would come. No one could picture Leonard Cohen, even then, doing the boogaloo in Edie's apartment. And Edie's was not the kind of place where a depressed poet could have a serious conversation about alchemy and the Book of Changes, about the magic of women and the Kabbalah, about whether the Jews were doomed people. And those were the topics that interested Leonard Cohen. So there was a little hush when he arrived, wearing his famous blue raincoat, clutching a bottle of ouzo like a talisman. All the sweet young things parted to let him pass, and Edie trilled her enthusiasm at his presence in her rooms. Now, Edie's party was not Leonard Cohen's first brush with the factory. He had watched Nico perform at the Dome, going back to 8th Street night after successive night, always sitting front and center. Like everyone, he was mesmerized by her beauty, but he also heard the siren sound in her voice that spoke to him like prophecy. It was listening to Nico, people said, that gave Leonard the idea he could sing. And maybe he was looking for Nico when he arrived at Edie's door, weaving his way through the crowd, pulled by something he could not name. There were drugs and music at Edie's, and in the manner of 1960s parties, candles blazed everywhere. Women pressed forward, attracted by Cohen's reputation as a ladies' man and by the promise of something broken in him. But as much as he loved women, it was to the candles that Leonard Cohen turned his attention, circumnavigating the room, trailing his long guitarist fingers along the wainscoting. He studied them so intently, he scared the glitter children. Waving away all offers of drugs and wines, needing to stay clear-headed as he mapped the precise location of all the flickering flames, keeping, as he said, the channels open. Round and round the room he went, calling up every bit of arcana he knew, wanting to make sure, reluctant even then to spoil the party, reluctant to ruin Edie's good time. But when he knew for certain, he took someone aside, a man probably, since Cohen was a patriarch at heart. Those candles, he said, they're arranged to cast a bad spell, fire and destruction. Candle magic is powerful. She shouldn't fool around with these things because they are meaningful. Her friends should tell her. And with that, the doomsayer of folk music tugged on his raincoat and was gone, in search of enlightenment for another muse. That's where the legend ends. Nobody knows if Edie's friends warned her, told her that Leonard Cohen, who knew a thing or two about the occult, had read the candles and seen disaster, or if they did, what she might have done to outfox fate. But one thing is known, a matter of historical record. The night following that particular party, Edie's bed caught fire. Edie woke up just in time, made a dash for the door, and collapsed in the hall. In a speedball daze, her friends said. Her hands and arms were badly burned, her room gutted, her cat smoke down. Her friend Bobby Anderson went to the hotel a few days later and rummaged through the ashes to see if anything was salvageable. There was nothing left. Just a hole in the floor where the bed had stood, and some lacy remnants of melted wax. Okay, so this next piece, this last piece from this chapbook, is I used to work in crisis intervention, so this is my holiday piece. And if you work in crisis intervention, the 3 worst days of the year are Thanksgiving, Christmas Eve, and Christmas. And it's when all the visions of Hallmark happy family stuff comes to haunt people for whom those things no longer hold true. And it's a really hard time to work those shifts. So this is called A Rehab Workers' Christmas, 1969. When you work in suicide prevention, December is the worst month of the year. And one Christmas season working crisis intervention is enough to turn even the chirpiest person into Ebenezer Scrooge. In fact, at Damien's switchboard where I worked, a Gothic script parchment quoting Scrooge hung over the phone desk. Every idiot who goes about with Merry Christmas on his lips should be boiled with his own pudding and buried with a stake of holly through his heart. Hipster cool irony, yes, but no less sincere for the pose. The Christmas that concerns me here is the Christmas of 1969, my first holiday working the switchboard. It had been a difficult year in San Francisco. Hard drugs had found their way into the hate, and with them came a new hunger, a new violence, a new desperation. Everyone was affected. If you didn't use, you had friends who did. If you lived in the hate, you'd been ripped off at least once, and you routinely saw the gray ghosts of former friends shivering in doorways, rubbing their arms. Iron bars were starting to appear on windows. That year, December came in on a rough tide. Only 20 shopping days left, the AM radio announcer told us. And already the Damien switchboard call logs read like a counterculture sneer at traditional family romance and the joys of the season. People had family nearby or they didn't. Either way, they were miserable. It was hard not to be cynical. By the time only 4 shopping days left rolled around, we desperately needed a party. We held our annual solstice celebration on December 21st. The large wooden table in Jenny Trepp's kitchen bowed under the weight of the bountiful vegetarian buffet. Candles blazed everywhere, and in the corner of Jenny's kitchen stood a live Christmas tree decorated with cranberries, tinsel stars, and paper birds. There was music and dancing, and I remember Ian, the switchboard director, putting a drunken arm around me and gravely asking if I knew my rising song. At the end of the night, high on weed, mescaline, and red wine, we conducted the annual Christmas shift lottery. The time slot I pulled was 2 to 6 a.m., early Christmas morning. Not the worst shift, but as my mentor, Steve McCurry, told me later, it was no cakewalk either. Remember to breathe, he said. And if you get into trouble, call. Hell, Dusty Street, call anyway. I'm working intake at the house. That was our residence facility. That was at some distance from the switchboard. I'm working intake at the house. I wouldn't want to get bored. The early part of my Christmas shift played out pretty much the way Steve had said it would. A flurry of calls as people tried to make sense of their family dramas and traumas and dinner table nightmare scenes. My father is an alcoholic, so Christmas is a fucking drag. I don't know why I even come home for the holidays. Women, man, fucking cunts, man, no offense. And always the Vietnam War, haunting holiday tables, turning every casual, so what have you been doing conversation into a fierce political debate. By 4 a.m., the holiday trauma calls started tapering off, and the bad drug calls hadn't started yet. My partner George brewed a fresh pot of coffee, and we were listening to the jazz and blues mix on KSAN, our local FM station, catching our breath, munching cookies, biding our time, waiting for the strung-out junk transmissions to stop, waiting for what Speed called the Burroughs Hour. Okay, so I have a couple more. These are a little bit more. So this first one's for Tony because he likes it so much. It's called Paint Samples, a piece of literary gossip. In early punk San Francisco, there was a poet, at least that's what he called himself, who specialized in reading paint samples. You know, those paper color swatches that paint stores give to prospective customers, the kind that have the color's name printed prominently on the bottom of each color swatch? Jason would come to the Family Pharmacy, to the Owl and Monkey, to the San Francisco State Poetry Center, carrying rings of paper swatches, and for 5 minutes he would dramatically intone the names of colors. Cerulean blue, pansy, flamingo pink. Now, I said that he specialized in such readings, but to be precise, that was all he ever read, color names. It drove the older poets crazy. In every other respect, Jason was a model citizen. He never heckled or catcalled, never harassed the women, never went overtime. He ordered food at cafes. He tipped the server. He was, in short, a prince. But he read paint samples. And as I said, he drove the older poets crazy. Now, these weren't just any older poets. The Poetry Center was founded by Kenneth Rexroth and Michael McClure. Ferlinghetti always came to readings. Ginsberg and Denise Levertov showed up whenever they were in town. Stan Rice habitually came. And they all uniformly hated Jason. The Greek poets, Nanos Valerides and Thanasis Maskaleras, were particularly put out. They had fled the totalitarian regime of the colonels but thought anything was better than listening to this guy read. The problem was what to do about it. Now, some of us younger poets thought Jason had a point, albeit one that had been made many times, namely that anything read with the right timing and intonation can become poetry. Cerulean blue, pansy, flamingo pink. And that the poet's gift might be less one of creation than of recognition, the ability to stop the free flow of ideas at the right moment, the moment when you find the one perfect phrase. Yeah, Maskaleras would say, in that patient teacher voice you use with the youngins. But once you make the point, you move on. You don't keep hammering away with the same goddamn paint samples as if it were an ongoing work. So there we were. The eminence grise decided that action needed to be taken. They couldn't just ban Jason. As I said, he was a model citizen. So they had to come up with some general rule to cover his case. But everything they tried only made things worse. A decision that only original work could be read, for example, inspired a group of spiky-haired punk poets to stage a dramatic reading of the opening two stanzas of Allen Ginsberg's Howl, and directly challenged Ferlinghetti to come on up and drag them off the stage. A moratorium on open mics inspired a group of feminist and African-American poets fed up with the San Francisco post-beat white boy poet culture to stand outside the Poetry Center with placards and a blowhorn. In short, it got gnarly, exposing all kinds of divisions, gender, generation, race, that we like to pretend did not exist in poetry land. And through it all, Jason sat, and when he could, read paint samples. Now, I wish I could tell you that this story has a nice, neat, happy ending. Some kumbaya moment where Gary Snyder came to town and got us all to bury the hatchets. But what really happened was that Jason moved his operation. He stopped coming to San Francisco readings and started reading paint samples across the bay in Marin County with the same effect. Some poets over there contacted Michael McClure to find out how we'd dealt with it. Excuse me. And McClure had to tell him that we hadn't, and that for months after Jason left, whenever a younger poet wanted to get an older poet's goat, all she had to do was bat her eyes and say, "Cerulean blue." So I think I still have a little bit of time. I have one left. This is relatively new. And the only time I've read it before was to a group of musicians in Bloomington that I sometimes work with. It's called Church Bazaar. And the thing you need to know about some of the references in this is that I went to Catholic school. I still bear the scars. And so the church I'm talking about was attached to the school, and they were symbiotic. Church Bazaar. Placing bets on Church Bazaar tables, longing only for a goldfish, a statue of St. Martin, a Barbie doll, a teddy bear. No grandma crochet toilet paper holders or kitchen towels spread right by those booths. The record booth full of donated 45s and 33s, much too grand. I never won there. Never held Frankie Valley and the Four Seasons in my 8-year-old hands. Big girls don't cry, a personal fave, even if it was a lie, because big girls cry all the time. Black, red, even, odd, numbers keep coming. 7 was lucky, so was 9. 6, not so much. the clickety-clack of the Tilted Chance wheel. One long, intense weekend, Friday night, then Saturday and Sunday, 10 a.m. to midnight, every year. They gave us a break from school on Thursday afternoon for a special bizarre preview, seducing dimes from our hot little hands to support the church, they said. More like turning you all into Vegas junkies, my dad said, as he grudgingly gave me my allowance. I saved for months for those things. The lights, the crazy tunnel, gelato and popcorn, the chance to win something. Back behind the scarlet curtain, the special adult room, with blackjack tables and nickel booths, poker and wine. Gambling illegal in the state of California, but these were bets for Jesus. Don't ask, don't tell, and the cops never gave trouble. Good Catholic Irish and Italian boys, wink, wink, look away. They even stopped by to play after their shifts ended. Romances flourished and died at the church bazaar. Affairs began and ended in preparation. All those men's club, women's club meetings tipping over into each other, rides home, furtive kisses in the dark, sometimes a little backseat extra, inspiring at least one unheard of in Catholic circles, divorce. And of course, the bazaar was a perfect hookup spot for the junior high raging hormone stuff. Smoking cigarettes behind the hall, boys moving in for a kiss after winning a box of seized candy for their crush of the moment. Dads made the booths. Moms collected donations, made decorations, baked cake and lasagna. The prettiest moms, like Charlie Manson's Front Street Boys, spinning the wheels, wearing their once-a-year-only décolletage, hoping someone would place a bet on the twins. The handsomest dads wearing old-timey shirts with garters on their sleeves, drinking whiskey, dealing poker behind the curtain, promising middle-aged family men some Old West Wilder bad boy allure, even if only for a night. All of them calling, come on, take a chance. Place a bet for Jesus. Place a bet on the twins. Thank you.
Everybody, Joan Hawkins. All right, we're going to take about a 5 to 10 minute break. I'm sure Joan and Tony would love to talk to you about their books. We have some other books up here. If you haven't already, sign up to share a poem, and we'll get started in 5 to 10 minutes.